Supervisors, if you could take your seats, please, and make sure that you mark yourselves present. We will get started momentarily. Thank you. I will call this May meeting of the Manitowoc County Board to order. We will start with invocation by Supervisor Schiesel, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'm only going over here because that's what I saw the last guy do. Hi everybody, I'm new here. So if you're going to throw things, please throw them over that way. Heavenly Father, fill this room tonight with patience and knowledge, wisdom, discernment, all the things that are needed for healthy discussion. We have many challenges ahead of us, and those will just keep on coming. We have some past stuff to take care of, and we will. But I would just ask that you give us all guidance, because we are but men, and we are the reason that we're here. We need, well, to use the word that I'm doing here, we need to invoke you, Lord, to help us deal with all of our challenges and all of the issues that a county board deals with. And I ask that you provide us with all that we need in the name of your Son, Jesus Christ.
Thank you, Supervisor Schiesel. Roll call is going around. We have 25 members present. First item of action would be to approve the agenda. I'd be looking for a motion. Motion by Supervisor Engelbrecht, second by Supervisor Sikowitz. Any discussion on the agenda? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And the agenda is approved. I am going to take our proclamation first. Recognizing and commemorating the life of Todd Holschbach. So I see that there's some family in here to accept the resolution. If you'd like, you may join me up at the podium along with the county executive. A proclamation commemorating the life and service of Todd Holschbach. Whereas, Todd Holschbach, being born on August 31st, 1964, in Manitowoc, Wisconsin, was a graduate of Lincoln High School with the class of 1983. Then went on to study political science at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. After graduating, he worked at the Wisconsin State Capitol, helping solve constituents' issues and influencing legislation. Environmental issues were of great interest to him, which led him to joining the Nature Conservancy in 2002. He served as the Wisconsin Government Relations Director until his retirement in 2023. Todd passed away on March 13th, 2024, after a courageous and vigilant fight against cancer. And whereas Todd Holschbach was active in county government by representing the people of County Board Supervisory District 1 from 2012 to 2020. During his term, he served on the Finance Committee, Highway Committee, Land Conservation Committee / Natural Resources and Education Committee, Manitowoc Library Board of Trustees, and Manitowoc County Library Services Advisory Committee. And whereas Todd Holschbach was a dedicated husband, father, and friend who thoroughly enjoyed spending time with his family and friends. He enjoyed traveling and exploring this beautiful earth with his family. He was an avid reader and loved to learn about people, cultures, and places. He was truly dedicated to conserving natural spaces for this and future generations, and passed that love of nature to his sons. And whereas Todd Holschbach was a leader who served the citizens of Manitowoc County in many capacities and contributed countless hours to improve the quality of life for all. Now, therefore, we, Bob Zickelbauer, County Executive, and Tyler Martell, Manitowoc County Board Chair, along with the Manitowoc County Board of Supervisors, hereby commemorate the life and service of Todd Holschbach and express their condolences to the Holschbach family.
Thank you very much for this honor. My boys and I are very appreciative for you recognizing Todd and his hard work for the community, and we appreciate it. Todd's 4 sisters are here tonight as well, and a niece that I just would like them to be recognized as well. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we will take reports. I've invited the county executive to speak, addressing the Human Services Department deficit. We know this is ongoing, and I'm sure he will have some news to update us with.
Just a minute. Testing 1, 2. Test. No problem. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for allowing me to talk a couple of minutes to the county board. I apologize for that. I want to be as transparent as possible on the human services deficit. We met a couple of weeks ago, and I've met with other county board supervisors, and I encourage you to ask me questions. Come up to my office, call me anytime that I can answer questions. Basically, the human services deficit is a revenue problem. In 2020, we had $22.5 million of expenses in the Human Services Department. 4 years later, it ballooned to $32.5 million, but the local revenues, the revenues from the County of Manitowoc, stayed the same, about $6 million. So we need to increase the revenues in the future to $9 million if we're going to have a $32.5 million expenditures. This is caused by increased demand and inflation, and we have to focus on moving forward to solve the problem. But we don't have to rush. We can do it this summer, and we've talked about a couple of options, and there may be other options. I'm the one to blame for this, and I accept the responsibility and the accountability. I was too aggressive at holding the line on property taxes. If you look at your property tax bill and the items for Manitowoc County and look at it 10 years ago,
and compare it to now, you'll find that we all held the line on property taxes for a long time. But we have to increase the revenues for the Human Services Department. We've laid out a couple of choices. One choice was to raise the property taxes by 30%, and that's $120, $100,000. We can't do that because of levy limits. We can only raise the property tax without a referendum by 12 or 13%. That would be one solution to the problem. That would take maybe 4 or 5 years to get our accounts in order and our financial situation because of the deficits in 2023 and 2024. We talked about the sales tax. That would solve it quicker. If you want to go that way, I won't veto it. I've said that previously, but I said at the last meeting that if the county board chooses the sales tax option, 1/2 or 1% sales tax from January 1st on, I wouldn't veto it because I'm the cause of the problem. If we chose the sales tax, we would need to pass it by September 1st. So we've got a couple of months to consider options and other ideas. I think the deficit is serious, but not fatal, and we'll have more financial information on the debt in June or July. We're working with our auditors, and actually the deficit is coming down a little bit, but the story doesn't change. We still have to raise the levy for human services in the future. I invite you to call me anytime and ask your questions. Come up and see me in my office, and we'll talk about all the ramifications. In the meantime, we're studying the Human Services Department budget. You remember last time when we talked and answered questions, it's very complex and complicated, and we can't say exactly in real time what our deficit is and what our surplus is. We had surpluses in 2020 and 2021. We had a big deficit in 2022, and I thought it was going to turn around in 2023, but it didn't, and now we have to do some repair, and I think we can do that and go ahead forward. So I invite you to call me anytime, and thank you for the opportunity to talk to the county board, Mr. Chairman. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, we will go into public comment. I just want to remind members of the public that members of the public have 3 minutes to make their comments to the county board. All comments are to be directed at the chair, not at any individual member. And we will let you know, please, when you step up for public input, state your name and your address for the record.
My name is Patricia McKean Klein, and I live at 3111 Monroe Street, Two Rivers, Wisconsin. I would like to quote Thomas McKean, a signer of the Declaration of Independence and the Articles of Confederation, who also happens to be my ancestor. He wrote, "The sanctified body is one whose hands are clean. The stain of dishonesty is not on them. The withering blight of ill-gotten gain has not blistered them. The mark of violence is not found upon them. They have been separated from every occupation that could displease God or injure fellow man." Unfortunately, too many in our federal, state, and local governments do not abide by McKean's philosophy. I offer as evidence the following compiled by Scott Besant, Chief Investment Officer of Key Square Group. He claims 88% of the country is struggling due to 19.3% inflation, escalating taxes, and out-of-control government spending. The number one issue is the economy, with good reason. Groceries are up 89%, gasoline 84%, utilities 81%, healthcare 80%, housing 74%, and student loans 43%. The average family is spending $1,300 a month more than what they are taking in. They supplement with their credit cards, creating exploding credit card debt at 29%. Our total USA population is 336 million. Of this number, 73 million are children and 263 million are working age. The civilian workforce employs 168 million, federal workforce 3 million, state workforce 20 million, and local government 2 million. Those numbers reveal 70 million working age individuals are not working. How are they and illegal aliens able to exist? Taxpayers. Taxpayers fund everything in our government as well as the governments of other nations. Without our money, there would be no government, military, police, or quality of life. As inflation and taxes continue to go up, incomes shrink and small businesses close 45% to date. It will not be long before the wealthy and the elite will be the government. As a result, we will be part of a one big nanny state like we see in so many poor Black communities today. Do you want your children and grandchildren to be at the mercy of powerful, greedy elites? I close with the infamous words of Margaret Thatcher. The problem with socialism is that you have eventually run out of other people's money. Our $36 trillion debt, our unstable banking industry, and the random accountability of taxpayer money suggests we are in financial trouble. The solution? Moral and common sense decisions that balance and protect budgets. The taxpayers, as a credit card, have reached their limit. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else looking to speak? Mr. Thyro?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I see there's a lot of new faces here, which really looks good for Manitowoc County. The reason I'm here is for that $6 million deficit. I don't know how many of you new members ever heard of the rainy day fund or the unreserved fund balance, which is available for spending at the county's discretion. Every state, every county's got a rainy day fund. In December 31st, 2003, Manitowoc County had $13,722,742 in a reserve fund. Right now, we could use that. January 1st, 2024, Manitowoc County's got $1,988,352. We're $12 million short. Somewhere, it's missing. If we had that rainy day fund right now, Manitowoc County wouldn't be in the shape they are. We're in trouble. I talked to Paul Tittle on the radio yesterday, and I brought up what we're in trouble here, and I asked him about the state, and the state's reserve fund, the rainy day fund, has gone up every year. Manitowoc County's going backwards. So we got a problem. And another thing where we could save money, there's 183 employees for the Human Services Department. 183. 29 people over $60,000 per year, $33 an hour. 17 people over $70,000 a year, $37 an hour. 26 people over $80,000, $42 an hour. 7 people over $90,000, $50 an hour. 2 people over $110,000, $58 per hour. 2 people over $150,000 per year, $81 an hour. For human services, giving our taxpayers money away. I don't know where these wages come, what they try to tell you is that that's all state involved. Well, if the state wants these kind of wages to be paid, they should be paying them instead of the county. Us taxpayers cannot afford it. That's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Yes, sir.
Frank Wesley, 733 North 7th. I was glad to see Bob Ziegelbauer come up here and talk about the deficit problem. And as a conservative, there's only one way to solve budget problems, that is to cut spending. I don't know why that didn't pop up somewhere along the line. I have no idea, but raising revenue, let's raise revenue and use it for something else. The other thing I'm not happy about is paying $15 million for the old Mid-Cities Mall. These are what's left of my coil springs on my 2003 Taurus wagon. I think before we start spending money on projects like that, we should fix our streets. Now, some of this is from the streets in Manitowoc, but some was, I gotta give the Kewaunee County credit to, but Kewaunee County doesn't have the money that Manitowoc County has. I don't have any idea why that piece of property was $15 million. That's outrageous. I don't know whose brainstorm that was. I don't know who's benefiting from it. And if this was some bailout for somebody, but that was just wrong. My parents had 400 acres of farmland and woods and 6 or 7 houses, and all that all together was worth only $5 million. So where did they come up with $15 million for a old parking lot that's going to still need to have more millions of dollars to tear up the asphalt and get rid of it? And why didn't the person who owned that property sell it through the private sector, which is the way it's supposed to be? Government isn't supposed to be buying property. Thanks. And I have to say, though, that the city of Manitowoc and the county of Manitowoc do a lot of things really good. But this thing with these projects is just out of their reach. It's not supposed to be in their job description. Thanks.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak?
Right, Brian Meyer, 710 Waymeyer Drive. On April 30th, 2024, I attended a county board meeting and was shocked to hear that the county's Human Services Department is suffering from a $6 million deficit seemingly out of nowhere. Upon hearing that, our county executive proposed 2 options, increasing property taxes or increasing the sales tax. Why weren't we presented with a third option of cutting wasteful spending and reallocating funding? Why should an entire county pay for the mistakes of a few in what's being called an error? Here are some reasons as to why we should not increase taxes. Some may think our county is very fiscally responsible and has absolutely no areas where we can cut spending and reallocate funding. That is simply not the case. When you have a $6 million deficit and the health department is giving out taxpayer-funded light bulbs to any member of the public, that right there tells you there is wasteful spending that be gotten rid of. Fiscal progressivism is ruining this country from the federal down to the local level. 3/4 of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. Inflation is running rampant. Gas prices are up radically higher than they were 4 years ago, and when gas prices increases, like it has been doing, the price of all products increase. It is a huge mistake for fiscally progressive elected officials in any section of government to only propose tax increases without even considering cutting costs and reallocating funding. The hopes of some are that in the future we will elect leaders with fiscal constraint who will remove these taxes once the debt is paid off. I have little to no confidence that will occur. Look at our history and the reality that we live in. Once taxes come, they do not go away. Milwaukee has a 7.9% sales tax. That is not going away. That's what happens when you pile taxes on top of each other. Manitowoc could be along those lines someday if we continuously propose and accept tax increases. I speak for many in the community who do not want to take the targeting from local pro-taxation special interest groups like Ally, of which they have one of the representatives on this board, These local out-of-touch elitists do not speak for the majority of our community. Just because a few in the community will not be affected much by a tax increase due to their high income and savings does not mean that I and many others who do not possess much of an income should bear the burden of this. In the end, it is the county board who takes the vote on what they want to do for their constituents. Do not accept the two fiscally progressive options. We, the people, need a fiscally responsible option of cutting wasteful spending and reallocating funding without increasing the amount of money politicians take from us. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak?
Pat Coleman, 626 Melody Lane, Velders. What does a business or a homeowner do when they have an unexpected bill? They're looking in their shop, their home, their garage, their attic for something to sell, like boats or ATVs. They're cutting their supply costs, grocery lists, or cable bill. They don't go to their boss for a 30% raise, they don't go to their neighbors. They find the money themselves, and that's what this board needs to do instead of raising our property tax or putting in a county sales tax. It seems we got into this mess two ways. The government thinks it's their job to take care of people, and they think it's okay to own buildings, lands, parks. It is not the government's job to take care of its citizens. My health care is my responsibility. In human services, you say you have mandates. Mandates are not laws, and there is no way to enforce them. I never wore a mask during the COVID, and I wasn't thrown out of stores, I wasn't fined, and nobody came to my house and arrested me. It's not the government's job to own anything like buildings, parks, or equipment. They are just a burden on taxpayers. The taxpayers have to pay all the upkeep. We have 9 parks in the county, and let me tell you about the burden parks put on the taxpayer. Taxpayers' money buys the land, taxpayers' money develops the land, taxpayers' money is used to build the park, build up the park buildings, put in the electricity and bathrooms. We pay the light bill, the repair bill, and the lawn care. And if you want to use the park, we have to pay again. $50 for outside gazebo, $75 for inside, plus a $200 deposit in case we don't clean up. We get hit almost 10 times in the cost for just one park. It is not your job to provide playgrounds or boat launches. Let the private sector take care of that. Sell anything you can, land, parks, desks, filing cabinets you don't use, lawnmowers. Sell the lawn care equipment and hire a private company. Then they will be responsible for wages, benefits, insurance, and worn out equipment. They can probably do it for less money. I want to talk about the county sales tax. It's been quoted that a half a percent sales tax would mean 25 cents for each $50 spent. Mr. Ziegelbauer is projecting a need of $100 from each buyer. So let's do some simple math. The county gets $25 for every $50 spent on a taxable item. In order for the county to get $1 in sales tax, I have to spend $200. For the county to get $10 in sales tax, I have to spend $2,000. And lastly, to get $100 in sales tax from me, I would have to spend $20,000 on a taxable item in a year. County debts and deficits will never end. We have the issue, and then we have the issue of fixing the courthouse, another albatross, which may cost us $30 to $70 million. It's easy to go after the taxpayer for funds, but it doesn't solve or keep us out of debt. Please work at getting and keeping us out of debt. That's your job. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other members of the public wishing to speak? Any other members of the public wishing to speak? For a third and final time, are there any members of the public wishing to speak? Seeing none, I will close public input. That will take us, to our consent agenda. I've noticed that there seems to still be a couple of questions about the consent agenda, so I want to just re-explain it so that way we all are on the same page. The consent agenda, if you look at item 9 on your agenda, flip the paper over, go down to C2, which ends in Park and Planning Commission. All of these items are being taken as one because they have been deemed non-controversial by the clerk preparing the agenda, the committee chairs sending these items forward. However, if you, having read your agenda in advance of the meeting or seeing it right now, see an item that you would wish to take separately for any reason whatsoever, you can state that you want that item to be removed from the consent agenda and it will be taken up in regular order. So I'll ask now, are there any items on the consent agenda that any supervisor would like to see removed? Seeing none, I'd look for a motion to approve the consent agenda. Motion by Supervisor Weiss, second by Supervisor Bry. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? And the consent agenda is approved. Oh, we need to do it on the... I'm sorry. This is a roll call vote on our machines. So if you could please cast your vote. Yeah. And now the consent agenda is approved. Okay, that will take us to our committee reports. First is the Aging and Disability Board. Supervisor Packer, are you prepared to give a report?
I am not.
Okay.
We haven't met since our last meeting, and our next meeting is coming up in the next 2 weeks.
Thank you for that brief report. Next is the Board of Health. Supervisor Metzger.
We met May 9th. The health officer report, the risk of humans getting bird flu right now is very low, but is being monitored by the state and federal agencies. The nurse manager report, Wisconsin respiratory influenza, COVID-19 and RSV continue to circulate in low levels. The influenza virus activity is increasing. The communicable disease report, chlamydia infections, we had 6. COVID-19, 4 associated with hospitalizations. Environmental health, calls for tours, rooming houses increasing, preparing for licenses, renewal season. The WIC report, we consistently see more participants. The contract caseload is 936. The caseload for March was 960 participants. Caseload for April is 976. The WIC program starts June 1st. They can get vouchers to purchase fresh fruits and vegetables. The next meeting will be June 13th at 5 p.m. That's the end of my report.
Thank you. Next is the Criminal Justice Coordinating Council. Supervisor Falkowski. Gotta find where you are. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee did not conduct a meeting because of a lack of quorum. The next scheduled meeting is September 4th. My report.
All right, thank you. Hopefully we can get your microphone fixed before your next report. Next up, though, is Executive Committee. That's me. I have nothing to report for Executive Committee. Expo Ice Center Board, Supervisor Banky.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Expo Board met on May 1st, getting to work on getting ready for the fair. Our working groups are getting ready and busy. A couple weeks ago, we met at the fairgrounds on a Saturday and did some breaking of walls and concrete, and there's a lot of work that's being done prior and behind the scenes. We also talked about the lack of superintendents, so if you're interested in maybe being a superintendent at the fair, maybe you're into woodworking, into some antiques or whatever, those types of things, if you're interested, call Janelle at the Expo, because we are looking to fill some of those positions for superintendents. We also talked about Fairest to the Fair compensation. The Fairest to the Fair is a busy person. I mean, they go to a lot of parades, they attend breakfast on the farm, they do a lot of events, and so we're talking about what that compensation should be. We talked about billboard judging. We do send those billboards that you see throughout the county. We send people out to judge those billboards. And so the 4-H groups get judged on their billboards, and it's kind of a little friendly competition for them. If you're looking and have some time available during the fair and want to volunteer some time, there's a whole scope of different things that you can volunteer for. You don't have to, if you're a little bit physically unabled. I sit by a golf cart by the show out in the front there, by the tractor pulls, and just watch people to make sure they have an armband to get back in the pits. Pretty simple job, but it takes a person to sit there most of the night to watch and monitor that. Those are the types of things that we have available. If you have some time available and want to give that time, we would appreciate that during the fair. It gives you a chance to see what work is really going on at the fair. It's pretty important. We will be at breakfast on the farm at Liberty Lands Farms on June 8th. We will have a booth there, and our next meeting will be June 5th. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next is Finance Committee Supervisor Hanson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to note, my device stopped working, so I'll have to vote old school the rest of the night. A couple things. First of all, thank you for the support on the finance resolution approving the claim. It was a special case that the Finance Committee got together and approved. It was making a veteran in the county whole with some services. The Finance Committee will be discussing the sales tax issue on June 10th at 4:30 in the communications building, the large room there. And we will have that meeting and invite the public to come and give their concerns to the sales tax as the Finance Committee goes through and decides if this is the direction we decide to go or have to go. So again, that's June 10th at 4:30. That's a Monday, second Monday of the month. And we will be meeting them for that purpose. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Next, we have Highway Committee Supervisor Benke.
The Chair, we met on May 14th. Supervisor Engelbrecht was elected Vice Chair. Supervisor Marsh was elected Second Vice Chair. We had a traffic and safety. We had a request from local township, town of Newton, on the Highway C and R interchange intersection. Traffic and safety looked at that, made some recommendations to the Highway Committee on rectifying that. There was some signage that was misplaced, and also putting better painted markings on the ground. We've done a lot there in that particular intersection with flags, double stop signs, and different things prior to this. The Traffic and Safety Committee has some very good people on that committee, the sheriff, the coroner, we have a DOT engineer on there, so there's a number of good people on that track. So we take a lot of recommendation from the Traffic and Safety Committee on recommendations, especially when it comes to highway safety. We had an update from Greg on the salt and brine storage facility. That will be coming forward in the future here, so we would be building a brine facility on our property out by the highway shop, looking to get that brine indoors, getting some of the sand and salt indoors that's being stored outdoors. Look for that to be coming down the line as we get more information. We'll probably have Greg do somewhat of a presentation to the county board in the future as to the specifics of that brine facility. We got an update on the DOT rest stop on I-43. They're going to be doing some renovating up there, and the parking area will be expanded. We have a problem with trucks coming in, parking in areas where it makes it difficult for us to clear the ramps in and out of those rest stop facilities, so they'll be expanding the parking lot in that area as well. Our next meeting will be June 11th. That concludes my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Next is the Human Services Board, Supervisor Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a quick report, I guess, on behalf of the Human Services Board, I'd like to welcome our newest member, Supervisor Mink. So congratulations. I'm sure if there's any questions, there's plenty of people to answer those questions. So our next meeting of the Human Services Board will be this Thursday, May 23rd at 4:15 p.m. in the conference room off of J Street. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have the Land Conservation Committee, Supervisor Ryan Phipps.
Thank you, Chairman Martell. We had a meeting this last Thursday, May 16th. We discussed and reviewed some wildlife damage abatement and claims. We also discussed Lake Michigan Area Land and Water Conservation Association. We chose to appoint 2 members, our Department Director, Dave Wettenkamp, and myself. We also discussed the SWCD budget review and some of the department activities. And then we also talked about the mobile spreading map. And then we discussed, as Supervisor Benke did, breakfast on the farm on June 8th, Liberty Farms. And then, as you know, we have a resolution coming here, but that would be the end of my report.
Yep, did you want to move on that resolution?
Yes, I'd like to move forward Resolution 2024-2025-27, authorizing Wisconsin Department of Natural Resource runoff management grant.
Okay, there's a motion. Do I see a second? Supervisor Engelbrecht. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, the clerk will conduct the vote.
Supervisors will now vote on the resolution authorizing Wisconsin Department of Natural Resource runoff management grant.
And the resolution is approved. Next, we have the Personnel Committee, Supervisor Marsh.
Thank you. We met on May 7th, and election of supervisors was Supervisor Metzger to Vice Chair, Supervisor Niles to Second Vice Chair. We approved hiring of experienced operators for the Highway Department above midpoint. Experienced operators is defined as 2 or more years of experience in 1 or more of the following areas: track or rubber tire backhoe operating, digging at grade, road grader operating experience, dozer operating experience, or track or wheel skid loader operating. We approved the hiring of a new emergency dispatcher under our lateral policy. We approved the hiring of new corrections officer under the lateral transfer policy also. Our next meeting will be June 4th. That ends my report.
Thank you. Next up, Planning and Park Commission, Supervisor Falkowski.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning and Park Commission met.
Supervisor Falkowski, I'm going to see if I can turn on Supervisor Weiss's mic.
Can I sing? Does this work?
Please don't.
I can't do it anyway. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Planning and Park Commission met on April 29th. On our docket that day, it included 3 rezone requests, including our consent agenda tonight. Also, we had 2 variance requests, plus consideration to refer 9 sanitary maintenance violations to corporate counsel. After confirming open meeting law compliance, we opened the floor for public comment. This day, we had hearings on rezones for Bruce and Kelly Hansen, Paul Bertler, Irrevocable Trust, and the Todd and Kathleen Babish parcels. All were examined under the rezone criteria, and we heard testimony on the record, plus examined documents of support for each applicant. We discussed them all and approved them for the county board's consideration tonight. The Babish request was modified through the consensus of the applicant and the commission to change the classification to small estate in order to minimize the impact on exclusive ag parcels. Next, we reviewed and acted on a variance request for the William, Paul, and Claudia Dean, and also the Ku Yang Zhang variance request. Next on our docket was the discussion and possible actions to forward the recommendations to corporate counsel for the non-compliant sanitary maintenance violations. That concluded our hearing, and our next meeting date is tentatively scheduled for Monday, June 3rd. Our advisory committee meeting starts at 3:30, and our hearing starts at 4. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That is the end of my report. Should I stay here?
Yep, and if you would continue for your public safety report.
I'm ready. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In lieu of our May meeting, we had an invitation for members to attend the May 15th ceremony with the public to honor the fallen law enforcement officers' memorial service on the courthouse grounds. We extended our deepest gratitude to the families of the fallen officers who have also made tremendous sacrifices in support of their loved ones and to the services of our community. Thanks to the board members and the public who took the time to honor the men and women who serve in law enforcement. It was a good gathering of the public, and it was favorable weather to honor the 7 local officers lost. The ceremony included presentations of the callers from the Sheriff's Office Honor Guard. The choir was Clipper City's Chordsmen, and an invocation by Pastor Harrison. The keynote address was by District Attorney LeBray. The end of watch call for each officer was followed by the oath of honor to the present law enforcement officers there, conducted by Judge Rohr. This was followed by the Amazing Grace bagpipe serenade during the wreath-laying ceremony, then firing taps by the Vietnam Veterans Color Guard. That concluded the ceremony. Our next meeting for Public Safety Committee will be meeting on June 12th at a delayed time of 5:30 p.m. rather than at 5 p.m. at the C&T building in room 111. We'll start by electing the committee's first and second vice. Then, as scheduled, we will change our location to the Sheriff's Department's building to conduct the annual corrections facility inspection. A customary invitation is to extend to any of the county board members to join us. Going through the facility, any new county board members or any interested members this should be a good opportunity to understand what is involved in managing an incarcerated population. If you do intend to join us, contact me about security protocols before coming at the meeting. Please use my email or my phone to contact me. Mr. Chairman, thank you. That was the end of my report.
Thank you. Public Works Committee Supervisor Sikowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Public Works Committee met on Wednesday, May 8th. Supervisor Weiss was elected vice chair, and Supervisor Klein was elected second vice chair, and we also welcomed Supervisor Nadel as our newest member of our committee. The committee was given an overview of the Public Works Department and its 5 divisions and its organizational chart of staff members. In the Solid Waste and Recycling Division, the committee was updated on the status of the recycling center's operations and the current market conditions for the recyclables we process. In the Building and Grounds Division, we approved 2 pay requests for 2024 budgeted capital projects, and we were updated on the status of the courthouse windows and HVAC replacement project, and that bidding documents for this project have been issued with bids due on June 6th. In the Communications Division, it was reported the underground fiber optic line project has been completed and that the downtown campus buildings now have redundant communication pathways. It was also reported that the budgeted equipment replacements for the public safety radio systems have been ordered. In the Information Technology Division, we reviewed the projects that have been completed in the past month, the status of the ticket system for calls for service, and reviewed the monthly cybersecurity report. In the Expo Division, we reviewed the May activities calendar, the list of budgeted 2024 capital projects, and the monthly financial report. The next meeting of the Public Works Committee will be held on Wednesday, June 12th. And that finishes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Transportation Coordinating Committee, Supervisor Hacker.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Transportation Coordinating Committee met April 24th to review first quarter 2024 progress and our 2025 through 2029 Coordinated Public Transit Human Services Transportation Plan. State law requires that our coordinated plan be revisited every 5 years. This must be completed and approved by December 24th. So at our meeting, April 24th, Brian Dixon of Bay Lakes Regional Planning Commission led the coordinated plan review and discussion. Brian will update the draft per our discussion and present the revised draft for review and approval at our next Transportation Coordinating Committee meeting July 24th. Grant proposals for 2024 have been approved, and we've been awarded one of the 2 replacement buses requested for 2024. We continue to wait for the bus awarded in 2023. The bodybuilder AJ Mobility in Valders now estimates delivery in late summer. Ridership continues to rise, with one-way rides in Q1 2024 up 72% over Q1 one-way rides in 2023. We did not add any new volunteer drivers in Q1, but our driver retention rate is at 100%, with our staff now at 14. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. I do have a couple of announcements. First, Monday is Memorial Day. I did, as is customary, sign the county board up for the Memorial Day parade. So if you are interested in walking in the parade to recognize our veterans, I'm asking that you would meet outside the courthouse on, 8th Street. Our time is at 8:55. I will send out an email regarding this later tonight or tomorrow. And of course, the county executive is invited to join as well. Second, I did send an email about the WCA conference on September 22nd through 24th. If you're interested in attending, please let me know by Friday. So far, only 2 supervisors have contacted me, so we definitely have room for a few more. It's a great opportunity to learn about county government, interact with other county officials throughout the state, and you definitely learn a lot and get some great ideas. And then lastly, our next meeting is on June 18th. We'll be celebrating June Dairy Month, so we will be having our ice cream social in advance of the meeting. Also, we're going to be taking the county board photo. So the photo will be at 5:15, so I ask that you arrive a couple minutes earlier before that. 1, so that way you're here for the photo, and 2, we want to get the photo taken before ice cream because everybody's going to be dressed very nicely, and we don't want to have ice cream stains on any of our ties. I have no other announcements after that other than have a safe Memorial Day, a relaxing Memorial Day, and be safe tonight. Here we're going to get some nasty storms. With that, motion to adjourn by Supervisor Bry, second by Supervisor Mink.